Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Elevenses with the reps at Diesel Bookstore. We're so happy to see you here today on this extraordinarily warm Wednesday. We're getting together in our cool book space as we do every Wednesday with our wonderful publishers, representatives, and booksellers to talk about all of the new, upcoming, recently released titles that they are very excited to share with you, and so that you can add to your list. We've got a bunch of really great books we're going to talk about today. And that's what we do. We post the links to all of the books because you don't want to stop listening. So we post the links to all of the books that everybody's talking about today in the little chat area there. So you can just click on those and order them from Diesel later after you've finished. And you will be wanting to. I can absolutely guarantee that. I'm going to introduce the three, my favorites. Don't tell anyone else. Yeah. Our wonderful reps here today. I'm going to introduce them all in a second. But first, I do want to tell you what's happening at Diesel, at the store this coming week. We've got a couple of great events I want to tell you about. And the first one is happening tonight, which is already the 26th of August. I cannot believe it's almost September. It's crazy. But tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Diesel, we have Michael Chatfield and Andrew Givler, and they'll be discussing and signing The 2-Week Curse and Cold Wind, respectively. And that is going to be tonight at Diesel at 6:30 p.m. The sun will be going down, so it'll be a little bit cooler tonight, August 26th. All right. And then we've got a great event coming up on Thursday, the 27th, tomorrow night, at 6:30 p.m. We'll have Lauren Hough at the store discussing and signing Monster of a Land on the Road in Search of Modern America. And joining Lauren in conversation will be Roxane Gay. Everybody knows Roxane. She's terrific. That is going to be a great event tomorrow night. Lauren Hough and Roxane Gay at 6:30 p.m. at Diesel. We have more events coming up, lots of great events, and those are all available to be viewed on our website, dieselbookstore.com. You can find everything there. So I will leave that there, and I will introduce our wonderful reps who are going to be talking about books today, and we'll get started. Julia Callahan from Hachette is joining us. Everybody's got books in the background. It's great. I love it. Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books, and batting cleanup, Tom Benton from Penguin. Welcome, reps. Thank you for joining us, as always. And Julia, why don't you lead us off?
Okay, well, I have a big one to start with. It comes out next week, and this is by a beloved Southern California author. This is Survivor by Octavia Butler. So I believe I talked about, I can't remember if it was here, but a couple of months ago at the end of June, the 4 other books of this Patternist series by Octavia Butler, we've always published them, but we put out a new cover. They're French flaps, they're deckled edge, they're sort of nice and special. And that was all done sort of to celebrate the release of this book, Survivor. So Survivor is a book that was written in the 80s and has not been in print since the 80s. So it's been almost 50 years since Survivor was in print. The full Patternist series by Octavia Butler has never been in print at the same time until now. And this is a book that, I don't know, it may be a little controversial that we put it out because she did disown this book. It came out in the 80s. It got sort of panned. I mean, it got not good reviews. And years later, her estate and Butler scholars sort of came back to this book and looked at it again and said, actually, it has a lot of value. And what we think happened is that basically the people who were reviewing books for publications at the time were a lot of older white men. And this was a younger Black woman writing sci-fi and sort of speculative fiction, what we now call speculative fiction. And perhaps there was a bit of a miss on the audience that it hit. So it's coming out, like I said, next week. Octavia Butler scholar Alyssa Collins wrote the introduction, and she has this to say: in Survivor, a reader can see the initial shapes of long connective themes and arguments that Butler develops across her works about humanity, alienness, hybridity, and the potential futures that arise when we seed its imagining to Black women. There's never been more of an imperative to imagine different, new, and inclusive futures. So I'm really excited about this book. I think for people who love Octavia Butler, obviously this book has really only been available sort of on secondary markets for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So finally an opportunity to have this on the bookshelf, but also for people who haven't maybe have read Parable of the Sower or oh gosh, I'm gonna blank on it. I'm sorry, I haven't had enough coffee yet. But Parable of the Sower, Parable of the Talents, and some of her other sort of bigger works, that this series and this book particularly is something to definitely visit and to dive into. So this is Survivor by Octavia Butler.
I'm so excited about this book. I haven't read it, and it's just always
not a lot of people have.
Right. It's always a treat to go back to Octavia Butler. Probably a lot of people who live in LA have gone to the Huntington Library to check it out, and they have an absolutely amazing, the library itself is closed right now for renovations, but they've taken out a lot of the Octavia Butler stuff that they have and put that in a place where you can actually go look at it, which I did recently for the first time ever, if you can believe it. And it's amazing.
They're doing a big event for it next week too.
Oh, great. Okay. So
thing,
nice. All right. That's a nice segue into it. But this is, and especially considering the history of it and viewing it in a new light, and a new life. Yeah. Super interesting. And we'll probably get much more out of it, I think.
Yeah.
This time around. Great. Yeah. And absolutely gorgeous cover that they have on it.
Yeah, and when you hold it, it's like it's a nice book.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Thanks, Julia. Dave.
All right. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. I'm going to jump in. Of course, I try to always start with a food or a cookbook title, but it is a little different this week, and that I'm going to be talking about a book about cookbooks and a celebration of the history, design, aesthetic, and creation of cookbooks. This is a book by Debbie Berne. The subtitle tells you all you need to know. It is a fan's guide to cookbooks. It is for all of us, and this is everybody. If you have cookbooks in your house, then you more than likely have cookbooks that have been handed down to you through generations, from your parents, from loved ones, from family members. Nothing really marks a cookbook like the kind of notes in the margin, dog-eared corners, food splatters on the pages. All of that just adds more and more character. And Debbie embraces that in this book. She had a massive cookbook collection and also researched a lot of cookbooks in the Bay Area libraries and archives where she lived. And I'll get to a little more biographical information on Debbie as we go. But basically, this just looks at 125 years of cookbook history. It surveys, this is a nice little kind of visual flowchart or little graph at the beginning, the kinds of cookbooks that have been published over the years. We have things like kitchen Bibles. These are usually the ones that we get from our parents and bring through our kitchens and hand down to generations. There are things on entertaining through the eras. You can see that in the kind of 50s cookbooks and 60s, having people over, entertaining, and how to kind of create that ambiance and that mood for your diners and for your people. Fandom is something that kind of came in maybe the 70s when celebrity chefs, I'm thinking this will date me a bit or age me, but like The Galloping Gourmet is one of the first kind of like cookbooks I can think of as a child where I saw that person on TV and then I saw a book in a bookstore. And that, of course, that's commonplace where books are written by pop culture figures. We have cookbooks that are written by people that aren't even in the culinary world. They're simply actors or entertainers or actresses or musicians, for example. We've had them at Chronicle. And so it's great. It gives you an overview. Mostly more than anything, it's really visual. There's great spreads of just book spines. She talks a lot about like mass market cookbooks and how those like proliferated. All those kind of wire binding cookbooks that everybody has. It's more like a community cookbook. But then everything just kind of blows up in the 70s and 80s as food culture changes. She does a really good job showing you the design of how cookbooks have changed. And when you find these old 50s, kind of 40s, 50s, 30s cookbooks in thrift stores or old bookstores, they're just a title on the cover and just a design. There's really no food imagery or photography, but that changes as time goes on. Silver Palette is obviously like a huge cookbook in the 80s that everybody probably grew up with. You may have your parents, your mother's copy that you've handed down. She touches upon, a lot of the book is really funny and really playful. She touches upon the whole diet cookbook fad. Here's Richard Simmons. That's something that blew up in the 80s. So there's a lot of really humorous writing in here on these kind of faddish cookbooks. And that's a lot of fun. She really has fun in kind of dissecting that whole region of cookbooks. There's a whole section of hippie cookbooks of the 60s, which are ridiculous and really silly. So yeah, it's really playful and fun. I keep using the past tense. I should explain before I go on, is that Debbie died at the end of last year. The author lived in the Bay Area. She was battling cancer as she wrote the book, and it was her second book published. So she knew that this would be her final project and kind of her legacy. She worked for 25 years as a cookbook designer and helped to co-author and actually design and help co-create probably about 100 cookbooks in her lifetime. So a really big piece of this book is talking about how cookbooks are produced, how they're put together, and kind of what the background of them is. It's something that she knew because she lived it. She, like I said, really delved into a lot of Bay Area archives, personal cookbook collections, and libraries to assemble this. There's just a lot to talk about. It's a book that you just need to sit with and kind of luxuriate in. More than anything, and she says this repeatedly throughout the book, is that a cookbook represents the era in which it was created. It reflects cultural values, what people strived for, what people wanted to bring to their families each night on the dinner table, or bring to their friends or families when they came over to entertain. So a cookbook is sort of a look into the author's life, the times it was made in, and really a deep document. So that's what's so sweet and so heartfelt about this book, is that Debbie really poured her passions and her collection and all the collections that she kind of found into this. It's just a really sweet and affecting read. Her writing is really bright and very witty and funny. And I'm still delving into it. I just got the finished copy last week, and I'm really looking forward to just spending a lot of time living with this and enjoying it. Came out last week, Cookbooking, A Fan's Guide from Hardy Grant.
I love this book. It's such a great book. When I first picked it up, I was like, oh, this is so clever. I can't believe that nobody's thought of this before. And then I started looking through it, and it was like nostalgic, and it was fun. And
Yeah.
I found all of my favorite, I was like, oh, they have that one in there too. And all of my favorite cookbooks. I am a fan. So as you know, Dave.
Yep.
But I found so many of mine. I looked at the vegetarian and vegan section. Of course, I went to that right away to see some of, and they have the farm. She talks about the farm cookbook in there, which is, you got to check that out, because that was this movement. Anyway, it was a whole thing, but she talks about it, and it was just so great to be reminded of all these cookbooks.
Yeah.
And like she says about the fads and how, and it really, you just can see like the different eras moving through. And then there were the more modern ones, and I was like, oh yeah, that one sold really well. And that one, remember that one? That one's still on the shelf, so.
And she brings up that cookbooks survive. I mean, obviously they do, because it's something we talk about all the time. It's a huge piece of what we publish at Chronicle and many other publishers out in the market. And that even in this time of all this internet and people looking things up, but I have New York Times Cooking, but I have Epicurious, but I have a Bon Appetit online app. So what? Like, nothing compares to sitting down and pulling those books off the shelf.
That's true.
And that physical feeling, especially if there's like a family component, like your mother gave you the book, or your family passed it down. It means so much more to cook out of those physical cookbooks.
Yeah.
Cookbooks are not going anywhere.
It's a really fun book. It's like it's a nonfiction piece, Yeah. It's a narrative. That's the word I was searching for. Narrative.
That's the word.
Yeah, it's a narrative as well. So it's as fun to read as it is to look at.
Absolutely.
It's a great book.
And the cover communicates all of that. I love that.
It does.
I love that cover.
Yeah.
There's so many things, like as you go through and these photographs of the actual cookbooks, and every little patina, every little grease splatter tells a story, in these old books.
And I think it would make a great gift as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Dave. All right. Well, we're off to a strong start, Tom.
I'm going to continue that strong start. So my first book is Ghost of the Mountains. And when you see this cover, you'll see the author's name. I will not try that name. but he, thankfully, he goes by Kulu. So we call him Kulu.
Okay.
But this is about the snow leopard, the ghost of the mountains, which he says could actually be called the rock leopard because it's the rock faces that the leopard disappears into and makes them, elude predators and elude the human eye as well. And ever since Peter Matheson's The Snow Leopard, they have had this, special like hold on the imagination. And Kulu is the leading scientist now in the study of snow leopards, the environment around them. They're in the highest reaches of the Himalayas, and obviously very, very difficult to find and track. And so he takes the reader on it's a nature book, it's a memoir, an adventure, really, because you really feel that sense of adventure, the exhilaration of finding the leopard. And then he takes you in a macro sense about how he's working with communities there to protect the habitat, to protect the snow leopard, because of course, under the habitat is under threat from development, armed conflict, obviously climate change, all these things. So it's a thrilling. You learn things on every page. It's really an incredible science book and memoir, and you really get his voice, and also an excellent writer. I mean, it's a very, very good book that takes you deep into the subject. But also what I love too is he never loses sight of the awe-inspiring, the transcendence when encountering this incredible animal. So we have quotes from some of the very best science writers. Andrea Wolf says, "Thrilling and intrepid, a beautiful tale of dramatic, wild landscapes and the entangled lives of snow leopards, their prey, and the humans who share their terrain." So a great end of summer read if you want something really substantial. Goes to the Mountains. Loved it.
This is also a great book to read and feel cooler. We're talking about,
exactly. I hadn't thought about that. You're exactly right. Yes, it takes you high into the mountains.
But it's absolutely right that the snow leopard has got a solid place in the collective imagination right now. So, and I love sort of it's not a detective story, but it's sort of this the tracking kind of story, the finding. It's fantastic. Really great narrative,
And he's a photographer as well. So there are photographs, and you really just get a sense. Also, a non-Western. We're so used to a Western view of this world. You get a non-Western view here, which is essential. So
yeah, absolutely, a different perspective.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love the cover photo too, because that before you said it's really like rock leopard, I was thinking, it's really rock leopard. Because it looks just like the rock. So excellent. True. Thank you so much, Tom. All right, Julie, we're going to go back to you now.
Okay. Well, I feel like I've been talking about spooky season for so long. And
just since the beginning of July.
I know. And I have a rule in my house that we are not allowed to decorate until September. So my girlfriend listens sometimes to that. But I have it's a really fun gardening book. So, which is not something that I bring out all that often. So I'm excited to talk about it. But this is Darkness in Bloom, a Gothic guide to dramatic and moody plants. And this is for the goth gardener. It is every plant that is sort of dark, black, and how to cultivate these plants for your garden, how to plant them in a way that works for your garden. It's, got all sorts of fun, moody, sort of statuary, how to just make a great goth garden. And it's absolutely delightful. I learned about new plants that I had no idea existed, like the Conga begonia, which is a really velvety black plant. But it's just, I feel for folks that, maybe they're still goth, but perhaps have climbed up a little bit in age and now find real, sort of quality in the act of gardening, I feel like this is the book for you to cultivate a nice, whether it's backyard, whether it's inside your house, whether you have a huge yard, whether you don't have any yard at all. This sort of gives you all of these great tips and tricks and all of these great plants to buy and put in your house to darken the mood, I would say. So yeah, this is Darkness and Bloom. I just think it is an utterly delightful book. It's the package of this book, so it has a sprayed black edge, so it'll be totally black. And the gold you see on there will be nice foil stamped, so it'll be sparkly, and have a little bit of glitter amongst all of the darkness. So this is a really nice package. I think it's like a fun gift book, but also a fun gift book to give yourself if you're into that kind of thing.
I had no idea there were that many black plants. I can only think of like 2 or 3, That's such a clever idea. I love it. I would be interested in doing that, just to have it's a look, right?
Yeah.
What an excellent idea.
Yeah, totally. I heard someone say once that they admired the goths of Southern California the most and of the desert the most because they had to really commit to wear all black.
You gotta really commit to the bit here.
And I felt like I'm feeling that right now. It's currently almost 90 degrees where I am. So
that's okay though because it's like a 300% humidity. So it feels great.
Yeah, feels good.
Thank you, Julia.
You're welcome.
All right, Dave, back to you.
All right. Well, maybe this is related to Julia's book, but it's also related to the last book I talked about in a weird way. Another book about books. And this is The Art of Fairy Tales, which is full of dark, cool, morbid Gothic art. So maybe it's a nice segue from goth plants. But this comes to us from Lawrence King Publishing, one of our distributed presses, a Chronicle book. Always love to feature a Lawrence King title. This is one of the first samples I got this season. And it is absolutely beautiful. And I have just loved putting this into buyers' hands in appointments. It is such a dynamic and impressive book. Nice big binding, cool, cloth stamped cover edge there. And it is from author Joanna Ebenstein. And it is a celebration of the visual culture of fairy tales through the ages and through the eras. Much like cookbooks, and like what I just said about cookbooks, is that a fairy tale reflects the times in which it was written. It reflects, obviously, fears, hopes, kind of aspirations, fantasies, and just the imaginations of the time. So she delves in. It's just a beautifully bound book, cool end papers. I didn't mark specific pages, but I'll show you just quickly how lush and rich these images are throughout. She does a really good job of organizing it kind of into themes, which I'm going to give you an idea of what the sections of the book are. We focus on stories about fairies, the natural world, obviously princesses and heroines, heroes and villains, fairy tales that center on children's worlds. My favorite section, witches and dangerous women. And then, of course, dragons, demons, and beasts, which then segues into mermaids. So just beautiful examples. Much of this work is from 19th century children's books. There are some just very gentle and kind of mournful, sweet and beautiful images. But then obviously in the demons and monsters and beasts section, the book takes a much darker turn. And you get these really, really fantastical images. Interestingly, the Brothers Grimm published their first collection in 1812. And I believe it came out in different editions and was revised until about 1857 when the final edition and the one that we know today by the Brothers Grimm was published. That book was so popular and fairy tales so engaged the imagination of Germans that book was the second most read book in Germany at the time, second only to the Bible. Pretty amazing. And then, of course, the Brothers Grimm went on to inspire storytellers like Hans Christian Andersen, Lewis Carroll, and many others to kind of create their own fantastical fables and fairy tales. More than anything, and there is plenty of text through this book, but more than anything, it's just these absolutely lush, rich, and beautiful images. The text is pretty sparse. They're just more like paragraphs telling you about each piece of artwork, the book that it came from, a little biographical background on the authors or the illustrators or the artists that did some of these pieces, and then some interesting cultural background on how they were received, how these stories have kind of endured over time, and how we still tell these fairy tales and still share these classic tales even now. But really, ultimately, the art of these books and the beautiful illustrations are what kind of live on, and that's really what lodges in our subconscious. So it's just a gorgeous big hardcover book at $45. I think this is a lovely Christmas gift or a holiday gift, and just a really rich volume to sit and just be enchanted by.
I love this book. This is gorgeous, and right up my alley as well, because the fairy tales were a very critical part of my childhood. I just was immersed in them all the time, and I still remember the art from some of the more obscure, fairy tales that I read. And I was lucky enough to have parents who took me to bookstores all the time, and so there was lots of different kinds of books and lots of beautiful art. And I remember the different looking types of art that threaded through fairy tales and different kinds of fairy tales. What a brilliant idea. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'll have to have one.
I love a book about books. I think we all do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dave. All right, Tom, back to you.
Okay, so my next book is Nobody Broke Your Heart by Jamie Fisher. So this is a biography of the great Elliott Smith, quintessential Los Angeles artist of the 90s. And it reads like a labor of love for Jamie Fisher. She's a writer it's her first book. She's a writer. She's on the staff at the New York Times Magazine, and obviously loves Elliott Smith's music. And so she set about she did so many interviews with family, friends, collaborators who've never spoken about their relationship with Elliott or shared sort of with their own archives let me tell you the story of Elliott Smith. So he was born he grew up in suburban Texas. Very difficult childhood. Parents broke up. His father moved to Portland. Mother married a man who more than likely abused Elliott in some way. And eventually, as a teenager, he left that family and moved to Portland with his father. So Portland is a very important place in Elliott Smith's growth as an artist. And then he eventually he does move to Los Angeles, Silver Lake and Echo Park, before Silver Lake and Echo Park are what they are today. And he reached the pinnacle of his fame was there's a great scene at the Academy Awards 1998, 7, because he
98.
wrote which one?
98.
98.
It was the 98 awards for the 97 movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he won the award, or his song, Miss Misery, was in Good Will Hunting and was nominated for an Oscar. So you can watch the YouTube video of him performing so uncomfortably in this ill-fitting white suit. But there's a great scene, which is well known, but, Celine Dion also, she won the award for Titanic that year. But, she was so kind to this kid who was performing in a place that he felt not comfortable at all in. So there's all of these scenes. And so the real person comes to life. Now, of course, it ends in tragedy in 2003 with his death and the drug addiction that was before that. But she never wallows in that part of it, I feel like. I mean, and she gets as close to a truth about what really happened as you're going to get, because we're never going to know exactly what happened. But it's a really excellent piece of work, important, definitely will be the definitive Elliott Smith biography. She also talks about his legacy. So it's been, now almost 25 years since his death, but he's still, like, young artists. Phoebe Bridgers in particular is a huge Elliott Smith fan. I mean, there's a wall in, I think it's Silver Lake or Echo Park, which people still go to with a mural. So it's a great LA story. And it really does send you back to what a great singer-songwriter he was. And the songs endure. I mean, they really are incredible songs. And you leave the book, obviously sad, but also knowing he never knew it. He would never have admitted it or thought it could happen, but his life was so consequential to so many people. So that's Nobody Broke Your Heart by Jamie Fichter. Really beautiful.
Fantastic. Have you read this yet, Julia?
I haven't, but it's been on my radar for a while because I am a huge Elliott Smith fan, and
I
was
didn't know.
I was in college when Elliott Smith came out, so I was
Yeah.
prime for it.
No, this is down Julia's street. So
Yeah.
when you were talking
Yes.
about it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about
I missed
it.
a lot in the 90s. Like, it's kind of like I don't remember what happened in the 90s at all. It was just like blank. It was like, oh, that was the 90s. I can't. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about Elliott Smith, actually, and looking forward to discovering it through this book, actually. To
And
fill in the
that painting on the wall, which is from the cover of his album Figure 8, is still up.
Yep.
And they have to repaint it because people write tributes to him. They have to repaint it constantly because
Right, because they
people
put
write
Post-it
tributes.
stuff, right? People put
What?
Post-its on the wall. I
Yeah,
think
people put
Post-its.
Post-its, but people
People
sign
wrote
their
into the
names.
design, and
Yeah. It's
Still there.
actually, isn't it the design for Solutions Electronics, which
Mhm.
is
it's next
the
to
best.
Akbar. It's on Sunset near
it's-
Fountain.
Yeah, and it's
And
like,
who you do would have a lot of allure.
if you ever need anything fixed on your record player, go to Solutions. That guy will fix anything.
It's behind the mural, so it's like on the
Yeah.
album cover,
You can
he's
go
standing
check
in
out the
front of this
mural
big
and then
swoop.
also get your electronics fixed.
Yeah, it's still there.
This
I've had
is
a
a
record
great.
player
This
fixed
is
there.
a great LA book altogether.
Yeah.
It really is.
Good, like Silverlight book.
Yeah, and it's really well told. I mean, it's really sensitive and just the book you'd hope would be written about life like Elliott's.
We're getting so many interesting books. Like we've gone through, artists, musical artists. We've gone through eras of their biographies and their memoirs. And I feel like we finished all of the '60s guys. I think we ran out of them. Everybody did one or two until well, I mean, there's not a lot left who haven't,
Sure.
and then we moved, I think, through the '80s, and we had the '80s. That was like a wave. About 5 years ago, we had a bunch of '80s artists, and we're like well into the '90s now, and it's really interesting because there's things really, I feel like, diversified, lots of like really different kinds of genres in the '90s. Things got very different. So it's super interesting to see what's happening there. This is a great start. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tom. All right, last round, Julia, lead it off.
Okay, well, I am finishing up with a kid's book, but it is, I think, a kid's book for adults because it is such a delight. And speaking of great LA things, you can see the painting that this kid's book is based on at LACMA. So this is called This Is Not a Carrot by Dylan Hewitt, a real tale inspired by Renee Magritte. And you can see on the cover, it is inspired by the, Deborah, you're going to have to do the French for me, but ce n'est pas un pipe. Is that right?
Ceci n'est pas une pipe.
Thank you. But yeah, oh gosh, I'm going to forget what the actual name of that painting is. The Treachery of Images. And this is all about this little rabbit who would like to eat this carrot, but of course he can't eat the carrot because this is not a carrot. It is a drawing of a carrot. And he goes through all of these different types of art. He can't eat the painting of the carrot. He can't eat the charcoal drawing of the carrot. He can't, because those are not carrots. Those are just simply renditions of carrots. He can't have the digital image of a carrot until finally he finds a real carrot to eat. And I shan't give away the ending to you, but there is a nice little twist at the end of this absolutely delightful children's book that I think, obviously it does introduce this like fairly complex concept to children, but I thought in a way that was so nice. And it's a way that like, I always look for kids' books that adults can also be excited about reading over and over again. And this feels like one of those.
I love an existential kids book. And there are a lot of them. And the funny thing about this is that, for anyone who's read a lot to kids or, talked to kids about books or, worked with kids, you realize that kids are in this existential line space all the time, right? And the stuff they come up with and so this kind of thing, it does. And then it speaks to the adults who have gone all the way around and have come back again, and are thinking about these things. So it's such a great experience for the reader and the kid who's hearing the book, for the first time and sort of interacting with it and talking about it. I love that we're throwing Magritte in here. It's fantastic. It's such a great marriage, of kid friendly material, but also like lots of deeper meanings, and art. So fantastic. I love this book.
I know, it's a delight.
Thanks, Julia.
Sure.
All right, Dave.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up today with a couple of gift products since Chronicle has such a large amount of gift stationery paper products on our list. It's always nice to sometimes bring those things in. The reason, or what I'm featuring today, is so intrinsically and utterly deeply Southern California. This is the debut. These came out this week of 2 Richard Neutra items in the Chronicle gift line. We are publishing a beautiful Richard Neutra lined notebook, journal, and also this wonderful note card set, which is called Richard Neutra 12 Note Cards and Envelopes. So these are both out now. Richard Neutra, if you don't know, defined, or really was a huge element in defining mid-century modern architecture in Southern California. Many residences all over Los Angeles, in the hills, out on the west side, a couple in Malibu. He designed things out in Palm Springs. I'm pretty sure there's a few houses in Silver Lake. I know Silver Lake comes up again in our presentation this morning, where I'm sitting right now. His office, run by his son, Dion, is still in existence in Silver Lake. It's been declared on the Registry of Historic Places. And I just want to, there's not a lot to say about the notebook. It's beautiful. It has all these drawings on these products are from his own hand. So basically really nice spread here. The house on the front is the Adolph Brown house, which is in Malibu. But I don't have a lot to say about the notebook because it's simply a lined notebook with this beautiful art. But man, these note cards in this beautiful box. 12 note cards, all drawn by Neutra in his own hand. Some were proposals for houses that didn't get built, only a couple. Most of these are existing residences. I'm going to hold up a few images and show you what they are. This is the Adolph Brown house again, 1950. Very beautiful. Each card has a quote from Neutra on the back, kind of illuminating his art and his process and his aesthetic. This is the Kaufman House, built in 1946 in Palm Springs. This is really wonderful. This is a fantastic illustration of the Griffith Park Planetarium, which he designed in 1932. So maybe one of his most visited and kind of most publicly accessible things in Southern California. And then the Inadomi House, 1960, also in Los Angeles. These are just 4 of the dozen beautiful note cards in this box. So these 2 products are out now. Just a great way to celebrate mid-century modern architecture. Everybody still loves it. It is still so hot. I want to mention the typeface we're seeing here is Neutra face. And maybe this is negative, but I'm still going to bring it up anyways. It is considered the typeface of gentrification, and I think it is really the typeface of gentrification in Southern California because ornamental letters, you can find these. They're on my garage door right now, out on the street in front of our house. Our landlord was like, this looks modern. So it's a way that it's a shorthand for people to give some instant modernity to something, but it's also, in kind of a side-eye sense, a way in which this font begins to pop up on old apartment buildings as someone just kind of slaps it up and says, hey, look, we're mid-century modern. So it's not Neutra's fault that he's so stylish and so enduring all these decades later. It's not his fault, so we can't slag him. But keep an eye out for Neutra font, and I think as you start to look for it, especially driving around LA, you're going to start to see it everywhere. And it's just beyond his residencies and all of his buildings. It's another example of how like his look and his aesthetic is just timeless and continues to kind of endure. These are beautiful products. And I just had a lot of fun selling these this season. And I'm going to give them as Christmas gifts, which you should too.
That is so specific about the font. I did not know that.
I just threw that in.
Thank you.
I love
didn't know
it
it either.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
when you look at that image on the note card. I mean, anyone who's ever been to LA ever, just that's what it evokes immediately, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, are there 12 distinct images in 12 cards, 12
Oh yeah,
images?
12 total
Oh,
note
that's
cards. They're all
That's
just a typical flop, blank
right.
inside
Yeah.
flip flop, and some say things like salutations or hold on, salutations.
I'm getting it. It's a theme.
There's like a theme.
Yeah, so 12 different images. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful set. Really distinctive and
Pretty sharp.
elegant looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I love this kind of stuff. And I know about the font. I'm even more
Look it up.
intrigued. Yeah. All right, Tom, let's wrap it up for the day.
Okay, so my last book is Cynthia Gomez's Muñeca. So this is a novella. It's 176, 178 pages of super powerful queer romance, horror, and also social commentary. So it's set in 1968 Oakland. Natty is the main character, and she's heard rumors about this heiress in a big house who's paralyzed. That's Violetta. And she has the suspicion that maybe a curse is involved, and so she gets herself into the house as Violetta's caretaker, and then their relationship develops from there, and then she finds out more about whether her suspicions about a curse are true, not true. So she's digging into, working class life in Oakland in that time period, life for a queer woman at that time, queer women. So it's rich with text and subtext that is fascinating, and then it delivers on the horror level too, because muñeca means doll. So we're all aware of the horror tropes of dolls. So it's really like in 176 pages, it packs a punch. And like a lot of publishers, Putnam is developing its horror list quickly, like finding exciting new voices in that world. And definitely Cynthia Gomez is one of those. And then it was so like, as indie booksellers do, they are constantly, finding books, raising them up. And so Muñeca is a finalist for the Back to Octavia Butler Award for science fiction, or that's part of the Golden Poppy Awards, which is a bookseller, Caliba, California Independent Booksellers Awards, annual awards given to writers who live in the state or have written in the state. And so I'm so excited that this book, which is available now, it came out earlier in the summer, but now it will have an even stronger, its presence in stores and be discovered by many more readers this fall for the holidays. So just to say a word about the Golden Poppies, I always look forward to seeing that list, because it is, booksellers are on panels who spend a lot of time reading hundreds of books and finding the very best from California writing in that year. So it's very meaningful. And we have Muñeca as a finalist. Chang-Rae Lee's A Tender Age, which I talked about maybe last time, is a finalist. And then we have a book called Carrying, which isn't out yet. It comes out in October, which is also a finalist for one of the categories. And I have just finished this book, and I hear the people talk about books being deranged in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
This is truly, I had that reading experience. I'm like, this book is deranged, and I love every minute of it. So I'm excited that that's also on the list. So, but back to Muñeca, it's a novella that it's truly a one sitting read that you can't put down. And a Golden Poppy finalist.
I absolutely love me a short novel, as you all know, I think I mention that every week. And I love a one sitting novel. This is great. So a couple of things. My sense of it is that I haven't read it yet, that it's a little bit like I was getting sort of Silvia Moreno Garcia vibes. Is that a fair comparison?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which is great, And then the other thing about dolls, I just wanted to mention, I know Dave I know Dave has heard of this, but Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black, like a million years ago. Dave is nodding, thank goodness. I'm not alone here. But there features a doll, which it was so scary. My sister, who this has been like, decades. I mean, she saw it a long time ago, and it like terrified her, and that little crazy doll, and she's still scared. So if anybody wants to look, I think they have it on YouTube. You can search for Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black. Hilarious and like absurd, but actually like really scary. So
Deeply disturbing.
Deeply disturbing. Yes. Would you agree, Dave? Oh, Dave's looking it up, but you're muted.
That's the last segment in Trilogy of Terror.
Yes.
Karen Black is in all three of them. They're not all great, but that last one with the Zuni doll attacking her is spectacular.
Spectacular.
It's
crazy.
It's
like a cult classic.
Yeah, it will scar you for life in the best
It will.
way.
It
I'm
did my
sure
sister.
I've
She
seen
was
this, but
tiny.
I have to watch it again. Oh my God. Was that Rod Serling or no?
No.
Dan
It was like
Curtis?
I think they had a period of time when they were doing like, features of the week or something on a Friday or something. It was like one of those things.
The 70s is like the heyday of horror TV movie made for
True.
TV movies. Yeah.
It was really good. Like, it's genuinely scary.
My grandpa used to call those spookaroos, and I feel like that's a really good term for him.
There it
Yes,
is.
there's the doll. There's the doll. There was.
Yeah.
Check it out, Julia. Check it out.
Don't show us that again, Dave, please. That's
No.
too much already.
I found it recently. It popped up, and I sent it to my sister, and she was like, "I'm not watching it. You can't make it." So she has never gotten over it. Anyway, scary dolls always a good road to go down for horror. And I think horror is a great place to leave it. Wonderful books. Thank you so much, everybody. A huge range of fantastic books today. I appreciate all of you so much for bringing them. Julia Callahan from Hachette, Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books, Tom Benton from Penguin. Thank you, Joey, behind the scenes with all of the wonderful book covers and links. And we will be back again next week. We will have more fantastic books. We'll have more to talk about, more reps. And I hope you will come back and join us then. And in the meantime, everybody, try to stay cool and happy reading. We will see you then. Thanks, everyone.